Good morning. The date is Tuesday, May the 12th. We gather online during this lockdown period, you and I, for Bhagavatam class on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays at 7:30 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Haribo Anjali, Joe, thanks for joining us. Yesterday we talked about first canto, second chapter, 10th verse. And I had a few more residual thoughts on that, and so we'll finish our discussion with that verse before we move on to the next verse, which is really a completely different subject. Om Agana, Jimmy, Hare Krishna. Om Agana Timrandasya Gana Gana Salaka Chaksurun Miritam Yena Tajmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manovishnam Stapitam Yena Bhutare Sayam Rupa Kiramayam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagatatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savirutam Parijana Sayitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Larita Sri Veshakan Vitam Sya Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesa Sunyavadi Praskata Desadharine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Morning Sachi. You're joining Anjali, Jimmy, and Joe and myself this morning. Govinda Dev, Hare Krishna. I've been thinking about how to accommodate questions if you have any, because it's always nice to open up for questions at the end. But when I'm talking, I can't really compute questions that come up on the screen here because it's too distracting. But if during the, and I do like if I say something like your test becomes a testimony and you put that in a comment and you just put that in, that's great. And of course, we love the little hearts and the thumbs up. Morning, Sundari Priya. But my suggestion is for a question, type it into the comments section, but don't hit send until after I've stopped talking. And that way, when I finish, I'll ask if there's Radhe Shyam from Tuella, Hare Krishna. That way, when I finish talking, I'll say, are there any questions? Then you have your question typed up and then just hit send. So that way I can take any questions that you might have at the end. But as I said, on this Tuesday, May the 12th, we're going to continue our discussion of the 10th verse, the second chapter, first canto, because there were some things left unsaid at the end of the day. I filled up 45 minutes with all kinds of information, but I didn't come to the end of it. And so we may or may not get to the 11th verse today or not, which is the one, Vedanti tat tat bam tat bam. The absolute truth is known in three phases. Good morning, Mala. But this is still Kamasya Nirapitir Labo Jivata Jivasyata Vijignasha Narto Yasche Kama Vihe. And we'll review Prabhupada's purport here. One should satisfy the senses only inasmuch as is required for self-preservation and not for sense gratification, because the body is made of senses, which also require a certain amount of satisfaction. There are regulative directions for satisfaction of such senses, but the senses are not meant for unrestricted enjoyment. This is what we talked about yesterday. We said one should not have unrestricted sense gratification. The point I like to make is that sense gratification is there. It's not that you can live a life totally devoid of sense gratification. The issue really is whether you're going to garner sense gratification for the stimulation of your material senses, just like the cats and dogs do, for a temporary thrill, eating, sleeping, mating, or whether you're going to use the senses that God gave you in order to please the supreme senses of the Lord. So you see that in either direction, sense gratification is there. It's either self-motivated or God-motivated, but the sense gratification is there. Now, the key is that when you work as the part for the whole, when you use your senses for the satisfaction of the senses of the Lord, then not only do your senses get satisfied, but the senses of others get satisfied as well. When you try to satisfy your own senses, shoving things in your mouths, aromas in your nose, eyes, without offering them to the Lord first or acknowledging even the basis in reality that is the Lord, you can't satisfy your senses. And no matter how much you try to indulge the senses, they're always wanting more. In fact, just the opposite of being satisfied, it's like putting fuel in a fire. Fire burns up brighter. The more we try to satisfy our senses in a self-centered way, then the more the senses demand of us. And we go to our death never satisfied. Prabhupada told the story of a minister, Hindu Vaishnava minister of Akbar's. Akbar once asked the minister, if you live a life of sense indulgence, do you get satisfied at the end of life when your body is old and the senses and hormones are no longer strong? They actually have hormone therapy nowadays. And when people's senses abate and give them some peace in the autumnal years, they don't like that. They take hormone therapy so the senses start raging again. But anyway, so what happens with one who spends their youth in promiscuity, drinking, sensual indulgence? Do they get satisfied in old age? In other words, is there a point when, I've experienced it all and now I'm completely free from any material desire and I'll turn my attention towards God? This story of Akbar shows that the exact opposite is a result of sensual indulgence. The minister, Akbar, asked, how long does the fire, the lust of sense gratification burn, especially if you've indulged it and fed it in your youth? Does it die out in old age in and of itself? So the minister didn't answer Akbar right away. But a few days later, he signaled, Akbar, follow me. I'm going to answer your question with an example, a life example, a real-time example. Not with words, but I'm going to illustrate it to you. So he went through the streets of old Delhi. It wasn't called Delhi in those days, but... and they came to a door, and they could see from the markings of the door that inside the house was someone dying, in the process of dying, leaving their body. So the minister said, we're going to go into the living room, and then we're going to go into his private chambers. Oh, yeah. And the minister had told Akbar, bring your 16-year-old daughter with you, your attractive 16-year-old daughter. So when they got into the living room of the house, he said, we're going to go into the man's death chamber. He's only got a few moments to live. He's old. He's lived for sense gratification. So when you go in and your daughter go in, I want you to see where his eyes go. Now, Akbar was king of the world. He had all the trappings, crown, jewels, garb, and he had that regal demeanor. Akbar was the kind of guy that even if you didn't know he was the king of the world, if you walked in the room, he had a very powerful presence. So according to the minister's instructions, Akbar and the daughter walked into the room side by side. The man was obviously just grasping for breath. The death rattle was already in his throat. He was old. He was infirm. And Akbar noted, paradoxical and contrary as it may seem, this man who himself physically was totally incapable of enjoying his senses because of a lifelong pattern of behavior, his reflexive instinctual reaction was immediately to look at the young girl. And then he died. Prabhupada says, lust, the senses, when they're allowed to run riot unrestrictedly throughout the entirety of one's life, says they never abate. It says serving the senses is neither pensionable nor terminable. There's no percentage in it whatsoever. But sense gratification is there. The only difference between sense gratification and spiritual life, which is liberating, and sense gratification in material life is that no matter how much you try to indulge your own senses, you'll always be frustrated. It's neither pensionable nor terminal. At the end of life, you'll just be more inflamed. Not necessarily physically, but mentally. You'll have habituated yourself. You'll have established a pattern of pursuing the gratification of the senses long past the time when it even gave you the barest wisp of satisfaction. In spiritual life, sense gratification is zero, but we are pleasing the senses of the Lord. As I'm sitting here in the temple in Spanish work, I'm looking at Radha Shyama Sundar, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman. They're dressed very beautifully. I'm dressed very plainly and simply. I would only get a certain perverted satisfaction if I was wearing silk and embroidery, but I get more satisfaction when dressed simply in dhoti and kurta, I appear before the deity and see them opulently and gorgeously dressed. That satisfies me more than wasting money on personal garments. And it also satisfies anybody else who comes into the temple and gets darshan of the Lord, as well as sees the deities online. We offer the Lord opulent foodstuffs. We try to take the best items that we grow here on the property and the best items that are available in the market. We cook them with the Lord's satisfaction in mind. We offer them on a plate to the Lord, and the Lord enjoys, not that he comes down and enjoys masticates the food. That's not necessary. He's always Atmaram, he's full and complete, self-satisfied. But he says, Patam pushpam phalam tayam yomi bhakti prajati. Offer me in love and devotion, flower, fruit, leaf, and water, and I will enjoy the devotion, the intelligence, the punctuality, the cleanliness with which it's offered. So just by hearing the prayers, the offering prayers, Namo Brahmanya Davaya Go Brahmanya Taya Chajikaritaya Krishnaya Govinaya Namo Namaha Namo Mahabharanaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurtsvaya Namaha. The Lord doesn't have to eat to enjoy. He can see the devotee humbling offering and enjoy that through the eyes. He can hear the prayers of the devotee and enjoy that through his ears. And then what happens? Yagya sistachina shanto munchante sarvakubhashi. If we were to take that food and eat it, even vegetarian food, there would be karma, because even plants are sentient beings, and we are responsible for any pain and suffering that we cause on our own account. But we take those same plants, fruits, and vegetables, and we offer them to the Lord. It says, Yagya sistashtino shanto munchante sarva kilbishihi. Kilbishi means sin, means karma. Because the end enjoyer, because that person whose senses are meant to be satisfied are not me, but the Supreme Lord who created everything in the first place, who is the owner, the proprietor, and the enjoyer. When his satisfaction is the object, then there's no karma. When you take foodstuffs and offer them to the Lord, if there's any karma, he takes that karma. He makes a covenant with us that you're not going to get any feedback. You're not going to get any flashback from that. And so the beautiful thing is that when we try to satisfy the senses of the Lord, then after that offering is made, we get to enjoy beautiful vegetarian fruits, grains, dairy products. And not only that, but we can enjoy the fact that there's no karma in those, that they have been accepted and enjoyed by the Lord, and we get to take the remnants of foodstuffs. Now, having eaten prasadam for 50 years, I can testify to you that it takes eating to a whole nother level. It takes enjoyment to a whole nother level. Sense gratification is there in either materialistic life or spiritual life. But in spiritual life, we recognize that we're the part and the Lord is the whole. So when the part tries to serve the whole, then the whole is satisfied, then as a part, we're satisfied, and other parts are also satisfied as well. Very simple principle. In the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, story of Dhruva Maharaj, it's stated, I believe by Narada Muni, Yata Turu Mula Nisayachina Tatskanda Bujo Pushaka Pranopaharascha Yatendidam Tadaiva Savaram Achuteja. Two examples are given. When you water the root of the tree, then automatically all the twigs, flowers, and branches are automatic. You don't have to water each one separately. You don't have to make any separate endeavor. Just that one thing, watering the root of the tree, satisfies all the parts of the tree. That's one example that's given by Sri Narada. And the other example is that the finger is part of the whole body. If the finger were to try to enjoy sweet rice separately, it couldn't. It wouldn't get any enjoyment out of plunging your finger into a cold cup of sweet rice. But if you put the sweet rice, if the finger in the hand puts the sweet rice to the mouth and goes to the stomach, and the stomach enjoys, then not only does that finger enjoy, but all parts of the body enjoy. So sometimes you can get the wrong impression because there's so much negative said about sense gratification that there's no sense gratification in Krishna consciousness. There's better. There's more of it, and it's better. But it's under the direction of the Lord. So the sense gratification that a devotee experiences is service. It's not defying or denying or ignoring or rebelling from the Lord, but it's part of the service that one performs on behalf of the Lord. It says here, Yukta Hara Viharasya, Yukta Chedasya Karmashu, Yukta Shrapna Vibodasya, Yoga Bhava Dukkha. In the 6th chapter, which is about yoga, Krishna says these words to Arjuna. He says, who is a yogi, doesn't eat too much. Well, we all know that. And he doesn't sleep too much, and we all pretty much intuited that as well. But he also says a yogi doesn't eat too little, and he doesn't sleep too little. Now that gives us a pause for reflection, because we think yogis are extreme ascetics, extreme tapasis. But as Krishna describes yoga here, it does not involve either extreme. It does not involve the extreme of excess, which we pretty much figured out on our own. Neither does it involve the extreme of scarcity or want. And why? Because yoga means link. It means connecting to the Lord. So how do we, as the parts, connect to the whole? Service. Service. The finger's dharma position is to serve the finger, independent, separate, severed, a cut, amputated finger lying in the street. It's useless. It's useless. But a finger that's attached to the body, sometimes we read about the fingers of tight ends in the NFL or concert pianists being insured for tens of millions of dollars, because their value lies in their connection to and service of the integral whole. And that's our value. That's where we get our value from, is conforming to the channel of serving the Supreme Lord. It's not that sense gratification is not there, but by pleasing the senses of the Lord, we enjoy, as it comes around, evam prabartitam chakram. There's a cycle created that when you give to the Lord, he's not ingrateful. He's not some modern leader who just sucks and sucks and sucks and sucks the life out of people, sucks the life out of society, exploits and cheats. Krishna is high-minded. He doesn't need anything from us at all. And so when we voluntarily exercise our option as parts to serve him by offering him prasadam, by decorating him very nicely on the altar, by maintaining a clean temple and receiving guests and visitors so that they can have darshan and understand more about the Dharma philosophy, organizing festivals to glorify the Lord. When he sees that we're pleasing his senses in that way, he's not ingrateful. He then tries to reciprocate with us. So what kind of a give and take, AC-DC, are we talking about here? Prabhupada gave the example once. I give God my $5. Here, Lord, I've got $5. I'm going to give it to you. Krishna gives us back $1 million. And in that $1 million, so many $5 bills are contained. But when we give to God, when we sacrifice to God, it doesn't mean we lose anything. People think sacrifice means you give it and it's gone and you never see it and now you're bereft. You're less than you were before. No, sacrifice, phake means do and sakra means sacred. It just means to elevate your thinking, your austerities, your penances, your relationships, your dressing, your eating. Just sacrifice just means to make it sacred, to sanctify every moment of your and your loved ones' lives. And in doing so, you enjoy on a higher level, a more sublime spiritual level than you could ever enjoy on a selfish, self-centered level. Because yoga means to serve the Lord, we need to be healthy. We need to have a sound mind and a sound body. And that is achieved by not eating too much, nor by eating too little. It's achieved not by sleeping too much, or by sleeping too little. Find the medium, find the balance, so you can be like a high-performance engine. If you have a high-performance car, you put a little bit better oil into it. You make sure it's serviced. The engine is tuned regularly. You take care of it, not because you think you are the car, but because the car can facilitate your performing on a higher level. So devotees don't indulge, overindulge, or underindulge, but they subsist. They satisfy the senses of the Lord, and consequently their senses are satisfied. And the whole process is in the nature of service to the Lord. Prabhupada says here, as far as sleeping is concerned, a Krishna conscious person is always alert in the discharge of his duties in Krishna consciousness, and therefore unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. So not sleeping is not denied, but unnecessary sleeping. I remember I had an aunt when I was a kid. We lived in Pennsylvania, my mother's sister. And sometimes I would spend the weekend at my grandmother's house, and my aunt was in a divorce and I guess a little depressed. So she would sleep till 11 o'clock every morning. She would sleep till 11 o'clock, long after the sun rose. Custom in Vedic culture is that you don't sleep when the sun's rising. Just like if you had the President of the United States come to your door 20 minutes after sunrise. Knock on the door, this is the President. So you don't call out from your bedroom where you're got the pillow over your head. Oh yeah, come on in, make yourself at home. There's juice in the fridge. You wouldn't take a visit from the President of the United States that casually. You'd be even if you didn't know he was coming, you would be up, showered, ready. Anyway, just in the eventuality, knowing that it is a possibility the President could visit me, you'd be up and you'd be ready to receive him according to his stature. So every day the sun comes up and the sun is the king, Raja Samastasura. He's the king of all the planets. He's the source of our sustenance. Without sunlight, we wouldn't exist for even an hour. Now in Utah, the winter's over. Chilled temperatures are finished. It was a mild winter. We didn't have hardly any snow, and we didn't have excessively cold temperatures. But this time of year, May, it's just right. You just feel after the deprivation of winter, not getting the warmth of the sun on your skin, you just want to go out and just sit in the sun for 10, 15 minutes a day. And it's such a balm. It's so calming. So we can't, the sun is a great personality. Take the President of the United States, forget about it. 10 million, billion times more benedictory, more benign than any material political leader. So the sun comes to our door, comes to our window every morning, this time of the day, 6-ish or something. So it's extremely uncultured, extremely uncivilized to be lying asleep in your bed past the time of dawn. The sun, the king of all the planets, the representative of Narayan, is coming to your door every day at sunrise, and one should be up and functioning and ready to receive him by then. One of the foundational series of exercises in the yogic system is called Surya Namaskar. They are the various exercises with which one faces east and with one's family members, and palms together, and various stretches and lunges, welcomes and celebrates the arrival of the sun. Because we don't take that for granted. We are grateful and we welcome the sun. Thank you for coming every single day. When we first came to Utah, there was a man, his name was Ram Natesh. He lived in Centerville. He was a scientist. He had a lot of genius, absolute genius. He worked from his home, didn't have a job with any company. And just from his creative mind, he had all these patents. He was worth millions and millions of dollars. And he was just working on his own from his office. He had 2 beautiful kids, a beautiful wife, millions and millions of dollars. One time he told me, he said, Caru, he was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. I don't know where he moved to, he lost touch. He said, Caru, he said, I could afford health insurance. He said, I could easily afford the best health insurance policy for my family. But I don't think it's necessary. He says, I don't actually spend a penny on health insurance because every morning, myself, my wife, and my kids, we greet the sun with Surya Namaskar. And after that, we worship Krishna. We offer Krishna a nice breakfast meal, and then we take the remnants of that sacrifice. He said, I think this is all the health insurance that I need. And in fact, if you ever met Ramnata, he was the picture of health. Lean, not an ounce of fat on him, same for his wife, same for his kids. Simply on the strength of being up and awake and greeting the sun every single day. And therefore, Prabhupada says, as far as sleeping is concerned, a Krishna-conscious person is always alert in the discharge of his duties, and therefore any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. The case of Haridas Thakur is called Namacarya. He sets the example for chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 300,000 times a day he would chant the names of God. That was his fixed vow. So did he get up in the morning and think, oh, I got to chant 300,000 names of Krishna, so I got to have a good breakfast, pancakes and hash browns and scrambled tofu, fresh orange juice? No. Prabhupada says here, Haridas Thakur would not accept even a morsel of prasadam, nor even sleep for a moment without finishing his daily routine of chanting with his beads 300,000 names. So he did sleep and he did eat, but his number one necessity was putting God first place by finishing his prescribed number of rounds. When Prabhupada came to the Western countries in 1965, he looked at the undisciplined Westerners who were brought up in a culture which not only allows but encourages unrestricted sense enjoyment. And in the 60s, wow, it was available like no other time in the history of the world. So that was our experience up to the point of meeting Prabhupada. And Prabhupada immediately calculated these Western boys and girls, they're not going to be able to chant 300,000 names of God. His spiritual master insisted that his disciples chant 64 rounds, 64 times 108, which takes about 5 hours a day. Prabhupada said, these American boys and girls won't be able to do that. So he set the minimum, 16 rounds a day. There's 108 beads on each japa, and one chants one mantra per bead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that means it takes about 10 minutes to chant a round. And so 2 hours and 45 minutes it takes to chant. We don't chant 23 hours like Harita Sakor, but it is a commitment of about an hour and 45. Did I say 2 hours and 40? No, and you can do it in under 2 hours, generally speaking. But devotees will not eat until they've chanted their rounds. This is the food for the soul. The soul is the active principle. It's only because of the soul that the body appears alive. So having one's priorities properly aligned in following the footsteps of the great acharyas like Haridas Thakur, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and so many others, devotees chant their rounds, generally speaking, or at least they'll chant the majority of the rounds. If they have to chant 16, they'll generally chant at least 12 rounds before breaking their fast and eating any food. Ideally, it would be chant 16 rounds. Now, the big question, we talked about sleeping and eating, regulating our senses, using sleeping, eating, in fact, as service to the Lord. So the big question, the big area in which there unrestricted sense enjoyment, in which people just lose it all together, is sex, isn't it? Yan maitu nari griyamedi shukami tucham. The main reason that souls leave the spiritual world and come to this material world is they want to enjoy sense gratification independent of the Lord. And there is sleeping and there is eating, but the number one shackles, the number one allure, which brings a soul down to the world of birth, death, disease, and old age, and not only brings them down, but keeps them here. The shackles, the unseen and visible shackles, is sex desire. So unless one regulates, not eliminates, but regulates or makes of sex desire seva, service to the Lord, there is no possibility of being free from birth, death, disease, and old age. So how does one make this desire, which we have in common with the animals, how does one make this service to the Lord? Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, balam balavacham kaham, kamo raga vivarjitam, dharma vyudadabhutishu, kamoshmin bharatar shiva. He says, I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles, O Lord of the Bharatas. A word about strength. Strength is an opulence, comes from the Lord. Balam balavatam chaham, aham. First person singular. Krishna says, I am balam balavatam chaham. I am the strength of the strong. So yesterday we talked about the Pandavas and their glorious dynasty of kings, one after another, who were born as Kshatriyas. They were born with robust physical attributes. They achieved the martial arts training when they're young. They ascended to the throne when their fathers and grandfathers retired, and they used their strength as service to the Lord by worshiping Him, installing deities and maintaining and building temples and protecting the citizenry as representatives of the Lord. Paritranaya sadhanam vinasya duskritam. Is representative of the Lord. They curb the miscreants and they protect and they encourage devotional service in their kingdom. And then they retire as soon as there's a successor, as soon as there's a son or a grandson who's of age and trained, they retire. So what happened there? They didn't, it says, I am the strength, devoid of passion and desire. Unlike the modern day politicians who cling to office as long as they can, I believe that Nehru kept being the Prime Minister of India, correct me if I'm wrong, even after he had like 3 heart attacks, either Nehru or Radhakrishna. Even after having had multiple strokes and multiple heart attacks, would not relinquish the Prime Ministership of India. And yet the Pandavas, when they were 50, 45, 55, they would relinquish the power, the opulence, the bodyguards, the multi-wives, the worship, none of which they were ever attached to at any point in their careers, and they went on to worship Lord Krishna in the forest. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So my point is as a prelude to the issue of sex, In the same way, wealth and opulence and power and sovereignty, they're only to be seen as an opportunity of service for people who have those unique talents and attributes. Not to be clung to, not to be aspired to. It's a duty that one assumes. It's a burden that one takes, and at the right time passes it on, relinquishes it, and gets on with the real business of deepening one's devotion at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of God. So having said that, sex then. Kama Shmin Bharatar Shaba. Obviously, the biggest problem in this material world is how to deal with sex life. It's very rare that one can live a celibate life, because in our culture, single means celibate. There's no such thing as a, Prabhupada would call it, bachelor daddy. If you're single, you must be celibate. So we acknowledge that 999 men and women will not be able to maintain vows of celibacy. So what's the process for the majority of people? The process is, Krishna says, I am that sex life which is not contrary to religious principles. So just like a king would use his power as service to the Lord, so we have this seed. We have this magic chemical which is generated by the body that Krishna gave us. You know, sometimes in order to save the life of someone who's very devitalized, they'll have a bone marrow transplant. So bone marrow is like a very fine stuff that you find inside the bones. It's an elixir, it can bring one back to life, literally. So similarly, the semen is produced, a drop of water, it takes quarts of blood to produce a drop of semen. So that semen, that seed within the male body, which is transferred to the female, is a miracle. The power, the potency of it, that it can produce life, that a spirit soul enters into that semina is transferred to the woman. 9 months later, a pious, righteous, former yogi appears in the family. This is family planning. Souls are attracted to parents of like disposition. If you want to have sex whimsically, untimely, you're going to get what you sow. If you want to have sex in the back seat of a car on a Saturday night with an empty liquor bottle on the floor, watch out what kind of a soul is going to come into your womb as your child. Going to make life hell for you. Hell for you. How much superior is the type of family planning where one restricts and limits sex life to that time in the month when the woman is fertile, and being of pure transcendental consciousness, one attracts a special, noble, life-changing soul who's going to light up every moment of your subsequent life. In old days and Vedic times, the children would make the parents famous because the parents had enough self-restraint to see sex life as their service to the Lord and do it at the optimal time and in the optimal consciousness. The parents, the children would make the parents known all over the world for having done it right, for having used what could have been the anchor that dragged you down to the bottom of the ocean, and which in fact does that for most people. That same principle, that same attraction, that same bodily tendency can be used as a service to the Lord to produce God-conscious children who will make their marks in the world, who will make a difference in their generations, and who will be a delight and a joy moment by moment, hour by hour, day by day, week by month, and who will make their names of their parents echo famously throughout the ages. So again, our theme this morning was that sense gratification is not absent in proper spiritual life. Prabhupada continues here on the issue of sex and marriage and children. For example, marriage or the combination of a man with a woman is necessary for progeny, but it is not meant for sense enjoyment. In the absence of voluntary restraint, there is propaganda for family planning. So what is that? It's abortion. You're killing an innocent child within the womb of the mother. That's what they call family planning. What a perversion. What a horror show. There's only one type of family planning, and that is to see that facility, those urgings, as an opportunity to serve the Lord and produce God-conscious children. Otherwise, to simply be dictated to by the urges that whenever lust arises, you indulge, you give into it. That is also described in the Bhagavad Gita. Shankara adharma vibhavad krishna parusan strishu dustitisha jayate varna shankara shankara narakaivo kula garam patanti pituroshav lupta pinda dakatriham. That population, which is as a result of unrestricted sense gratification, where people like animals have no restriction, no restraint, that population is an unwanted population. They are either killed because they're not wanted, or if they're allowed to take birth, being unwanted and unplanned, they create a hellish situation in society. Do you disagree? Am I speaking wrong? There's only one type of family planning, and that's what's described here in the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna says, Raga dvesha vimuktishtu vishyanindriya atma vishayavadena prashadamadikachiti. But a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. Well, this is spilling over from yesterday. Our verse yesterday, we didn't finish the points that we wanted to make, so we continued today. One should satisfy the senses only inasmuch, and if you have questions, hit send right now, so I can see what questions you have and answer them. And I'll just give you the opportunity to type in a question or send any question you might have while I'm reading this concluding sentence from Prabhupada's purport to yesterday's verse. One should satisfy the senses only inasmuch as is required for self-preservation and not for sense gratification, because the body is made of senses, which also require a certain amount of satisfaction. There are regulative directions for the satisfaction of such senses, but the senses are not meant for unrestricted enjoyment. Govinda says, love the glorification of the Son. Side point, George Harrison said that his great song, Here Comes the Sun, was about, I have to push this see more. It's not working for me. When I push see more, the rest of the comment is not appearing. Oh, that's a problem, isn't it? That's a problem. And Russell Lane asked which chapter and text. I'm not sure which quote I'm referring to. So we're trying to introduce questions here for the first time to give you an opportunity to ask your questions, add a comment. The more we interact, the better it is for everyone concerned. But as you can see, we're having an issue here. I can't unlock the rest of Govinda Das's comments. And I'm not sure which verse Russell's referring to about Krishna. Well, they're all verses that are about Krishna. Here comes the sun. Well, there's a couple of verses about light. It's not so much on topic, what we're talking about, but Krishna's Jyotishama Pataj Joshish Tamasha Parama. I am that light of the sun which banishes ignorance. I am knowledge, the object of knowledge, the goal of knowledge, because knowledge is also compared to light and ignorance is compared to darkness. So comparing himself to the sun and to knowledge, there's that verse, Jyotishama Pitaj Joshish Tamasha Paramuchite, and I believe that's in the 7th chapter. I'm not actually possible. And the verses that I referred to earlier are from the 6th chapter. And this Kam Raga Vesha Vimuktesh too, I don't have the reference for it. I believe that the regulative principles of freedom, I believe that's in the 3rd chapter. But if you have the hardback Bhagavad Gita that has an index by Sanskrit verses, so go to the index of your Bhagavad Gita and look up Raga Dvesha. I think it's in the 3rd chapter. In future, I'll make sure to have these references with me, and so as I quote the verse, I'll give you the reference right then and there. So thanks, Russell, for asking that question. Anjali has a link, and again, my problem is that when I touch this, it does not open up. So you all are probably better at these things than I am. Anil says, bring them on camera. And I don't know how to do that either. Bipin says, getting his comment, bring them on camera. Anyway, I need some tutorials here so we can provide more interaction. And so I'm open to all of your suggestions. But thank you very much for joining, and hopefully we'll unlock some of these keys as time goes on and open the door to more give and take between you all who are so kind to join us Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 7:30 a.m. for Srimad Bhagavatam class. And some of you also join us on the weekends for our motivational Chant for Change talks, which are held on Saturday nights at 7 o'clock and also Sundays at 5:15. So not being able to solve all these little technical glitches, I'm going to sign off today, but feel free to communicate with me offline and try to tell me how I can unlock your links and your comments so that I can see all of those and then respond to them. Thank you so much. We'll be back 24 hours from now on Wednesday, May 13th, to continue our turning of the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.